right, good morning, y'all. This is the dough Wrangler. I've had me a few requests from some of my followers to get better measurements on how we're gonna make this good, basic white bread. Now, this is a bread that y'all can enjoy with a sandwich. You can make it with a toast. You could even just plain hot out of the oven, slather in some of that good butter. You could put a little bit of it, you can make you a French toast with it in the breakfast. It's a very versatile thing to eat. But some people have been struggling a little bit with the measurements, so we're gonna go through together and see if we can kind of get some of those for the rest of y'all to be able to make this at home and really enjoy it. All right, so let's start off with 1 3/4 cups of water. That's looking about right there. So 1 3/4 cups of water, warm water goes in there, not hot, but warm water goes into the bucket. Next thing we're gonna do, a little bit of sugar and give that yeast something to eat so it'll rise and get nice and puffy. That's 1 tablespoon. And let's do 1 tablespoon and 1/2 of sugar. Give it something to eat and really enjoy it. Now we're gonna need a little bit of oil. Now this oil, you can use salad oil. You could use peanut oil if you wanted to. This is an olive oil. That's just what I happen to have on the stove. I'm gonna go with about a tablespoon of that right on in the pot. Then we need something to kind of zest it up a little bit. And that's when we're gonna have a little bit of salt, just to kick a little flavor in it. I'm gonna go with a teaspoon of kosher salt. Next thing we're gonna do, stir that up just a little bit, and then we're gonna get our yeast. Now for yeast, a standard packet of yeast is 2 1/2 teaspoons of yeast. So 2 1/2 teaspoons. You don't really need to use quite that much. However, it can't hurt. You can make a couple of loaves of bread with that much yeast, but it'll get it nice and puffy just how you like it. Now we're gonna stir that up, and here's where the magic is. I'm not quite sure, I ain't quite sure, how much exactly flour this is gonna take. So we're gonna measure it together, work together to find this out. So let's go with 1 cup. First off, 1 nice cup. Stir that up. We'll do 2 cups. It's starting to come together a little bit. Pretty nice, pretty nice. And I think it's gonna take 3 cups, maybe a little more. So let's find out. At 3 cups, you see that mass of flour starting to come together. It's gonna be a nice sticky dough. I think we're gonna need, here's a 1/4 cup, but I'm gonna take this 1/4 cup and only put half of it in there. Once we get our half of that 1/4 cup in, we'll spin it to win it. You know how they say that in casinos and everything people are going to these days, you know. All right, let's see. Now, I'm gonna dump that out. Now, I like to use a little bit of flour here just to kind of clean my spoon off, and we have to add that to our total. I'd say that was a 1.5 tablespoons probably. All right, now we're gonna start just working this dough a little bit. Now, if you want your dough, if you want your bread to have big air bubbles in it, big air holes, you want a little bit less flour, make it a little bit wetter. If you want a more uniform type crumb to it, you want a little more flour. So see how it's sticking to my hand like that? We need a little bit more flour, I think, sticking to the counter, sticking to my hand. Take that, about half of that 1/2 cup, so 1/4 cup. So far we're at 3 3/4 cup, 3 3/4 cup of flour, if you choose that measurement. We're looking for just kneading that dough, just working it back and forth, folding it over, stopping sticking a little bit. I'm just working it forward and back, forward and back. Now see how that's just a little bit sticky, a little springy. Let's put just a little more in there. Now we're just about, like I said, that's the last of that 1/4 cup of flour. So just about 4 cups, just under, 3 3/4, 3 3/4. work that dough around. Just make him in a nice ball like that. And we'll spray our pan with some ham. I like to take that. See, it's about, there's my hand. It's just a little bit sticky, not too much. We'll wrap it around in that there. And then we'll cover this. Watch this here, y'all. Oh my, stick 'em up! You make your little joke like that when you're doing to make it fun. That's what makes cooking fun. You make a little joke out of it. All right, we're gonna cover that up for about 1 hour, and we'll be back. We'll see you soon. All right, y'all, welcome back to the dough wrangler. This bread has been rising this dough roughly 1 hour to 1 hour and 20 minutes, and this is what we're looking for in the dough like this. See how she's puffed up about 2 times the size. You push it, it's got a little bit of spring to it, mushy but spring, and it's puffy. So what we're gonna do now here, we're gonna put a little pan. You could use butter, you could use oil, whatever you want. Just grease up inside that there pan. Now here's where you got to be careful, because a lot of times you'd be real tempted. Push that down, push all the air out of it. But what you wanna make sure of is that you just deflate it some. See how that is? You deflate it some, you put her on the counter, just roll it, and you get that view over camera too. Put that right like that there into a nice little log, just like that. See how there's a little bit of puffy air in there, not all the way dead and flat. And you put it right in your pan. Now, you're gonna smush on the sides just a little bit, get it to take that shape up there pan, see that? Now we're gonna put it there, we're gonna put a cover back on it, and we're gonna let it rise. Probably another hour-ish, depends on the weather, the ambiance in your house, what your temperature is like. You're gonna let it rise till it gets just up over that pan about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. And then we're gonna put it in the oven. So we'll be back and we'll do that next phase in a little bit here. All right, y'all, welcome back to the Dough Wrangler. As you can see, we are at the next stage in our rising for our loaf of bread. Now here, this is an important step because this bread ain't quite all the way done rising. When it gets in the oven, it's gonna puff up even further. So we want to make sure we give it somewhere to go. We're going to take a little knife here. You can use a kitchen knife if you want to. Make sure it's something sharp. And just cut a nice split top slice right down the center of her. And we're going to take that piece of bread, take that nice loaf, and we're going to put it in a 350-degree oven for 45 minutes. That's 3/4 of 1 hour. Right in there in the center, nestle that baby in there. When we take it out, she'll be done. All right, y'all, you hear that little sound? That means our bread is cooked. Let's get it out of there. See how we did. Oh, come here, you sweet little baby. Now, what I like to do when I get that loaf out like that there, I take him. And if you want a crispy, crunchy crust, you can leave it like that. But what I like to do is get me just a little bit of butter and rub it on top like that when it's still hot. And that'll make that crust nice and tender. Tender, soft crust. And then I take me a little paper towel, because if you leave that butter sitting on top, not soaked in, it'll get rancid. I take him like that, and just let it rest till it's cool, and then slice him in a little bit. Oh, what's this? Someone made a fresh loaf of bread? Let's cut into it and have some. That looks delicious. Oh, that's gonna be perfect for my sandwich and cinnamon toast.
This is pretty much the worst video ever made.
Napoleon, like anyone can even know that.